All right, so we are live. Hi, Nathan.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So happy Friday. This is part 4 of the Disability and Body Image series with Jaime Aid and Nathan Todd, the loneliness coach. And today is the behavioral aspects of body image and how that impacts the choices we make as an individual. But before we get into that, last week Nathan very graciously donated a copy of his book for those of you who were willing to respond to the prompt that we had on the page. And so I just want to announce who our winners are for that. And Nathan, you very graciously made an amendment to your offer. So do you want to tell all the participants the surprise?
Yeah, so anybody who met all the requirements, all the rules, and took the time to actually make the comment, you are going to get the digital copy of the book. So congratulations to you, and I hope that it serves you well.
Excellent. So there were 5 people who did indeed post the 2 things that describe them. So let me just read off who those 5 people were. So Tylea, you'll be getting a copy of the book. Charity Hughes, you'll be getting a copy of the book. Abel Argry, you'll be getting a copy of the book. And Catherine Gerard, you'll be getting a copy of the book, as well as Michael Campbell. So congratulations, everybody. I will be sending you a copy of the book tomorrow morning, and you'll all have your own copy of Nathan's book. And I'm sure if you have questions, you can ping Nathan on Facebook. So yeah, congratulations. Absolutely. And thank you very much, Nathan, for donating your book. We appreciate that. So, okay, here we go. The behavioral aspects of body image. A couple minutes ago, you and I were chit-chatting about what this means. For those of you who may not be aware, the National Institute of Eating Disorders has defined 4 different types of body image that impact how you see your body. We've covered the first 3 types. The type that we're covering today is behavioral. And what we mean by that is how we feel about our bodies influences our actions. And it can be both positive and negative. Negative behavioral aspects of body image could be something such as an eating disorder, a propensity for excluding yourself or removing yourself from social events or social gatherings, excluding yourself from intimacy, choosing to be asexual, all sorts of things that can be choices that are behavioral choices due to how you feel about your self-body image. Hi, BJ. Hi, Michael. Hi, Christina. So there's also positive behavioral aspects of your body image. If you have a good body image, you're going to be more likely to engage in relationships, whether those be friends, companions, or romantic relationships. If you have a good body image, you're going to be more likely behavior-wise to take care of your body and not abuse it with such things such as eating disorders or addictions, things like that. So what do you think about this particular topic, Nathan? Any thoughts you want to throw out there as it applies to the CP world?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I would talk about first is the idea that, and I just heard this on a training and it applies, says behavior is often the loudest and clearest language that we speak to share our experience and to share what we are going through in our lives and the needs that we have that aren't being met. And boy, how much that applies to this conversation, whether it's like you said, eating disorder, whether it's like me going the other way and exercise, like getting heavy into exercise. What we believe about our bodies, what you believe about your body definitely shows up in the behaviors that you choose to adopt. And they can be for the positive or they can be for the negative. And I think one of the big things is just becoming aware of what our behaviors are.
Yeah. And recognizing those, right? So that we can continue the good ones and try and heal the bad ones. Because I think a lot of the bad ones have to do with image injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we see ourselves is hurt. And we have to somehow heal it, either by counseling or just making it a forefront in our priorities. A lot of us have physical scars. Hey, Wade, from the different procedures and things that we've done. But I think the behavioral is really more about the mental scars. If you felt rejected because of your body, that's a scar, and it impacts how you behave. Doesn't mean that you can't get over it, but you really have to make a conscious effort, right? I mean, we've all been rejected. And on top of that, if we're honest with ourselves, we all know we've been rejected over our disability. So at some point we have to, what do you want to say? Grapple with that or get over it, or
it's interesting because I saw this in another group, this exact conversation about being rejected because of the person's disability. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the first question, but let me be clear, I do think that happens. But the first question I automatically thought was, how do you know that happened? Or is that just where your image of yourself is at this moment in time, that's the only reason you believe that could be possible?
Right. So I will tell you from personal experience, it's been both. I've had a situation where somebody has literally said, hey, you're a great chick. It's too bad your legs are beep up, right? So I have a very concrete way of knowing that the rejection was based on the disability, because it's like, hey, you're a great chick. Too bad your legs are effed up, right? Okay, well, hey, at least it's out there, right? So I know why I'm being rejected. Other times, especially in my early 20s, it could be that I was being rejected for other reasons, but that I personally took it as being rejected for my disability because I was still sensitive about it. So I think it can go either way. Are you always going to get lucky enough to be told by an all-out asshole exactly why?
No,
you're not going to get that lucky, right? So you're just going to have to know for yourself or guess. I kind of think it's important at a certain point, though, to never assume it's because of your disability, because I think it's less often because of our disability than we think.
Yeah, we too can be the asshole. Just so everybody's clear on that, we too can be the asshole. Yeah. I think that what comes to mind for me is the idea of with my image, where am I right now? Like, how do I feel about myself and the way that I look on a scale 1 to 10? Where is that at? And let's say you're on the lower end. Let's say right now you're sitting at a 3.
Right.
Okay, so if you're a 3, now you know what the 3 looks like. How do you get to a 4? What would make you turn into a 4?
Right.
And I think in the disability community, we don't do a good job of like asking ourselves, hey, what skills do I need to actually make this better?
Right. Right. What can I do to make this process easier for myself? Right. Mm-hmm. you and I have discussed this off camera. I work full time in the able-bodied world. I work on camera all day for a living. Because I work on camera all day for a living, and because I'm delivering training and demos and all sorts of, really engaging stuff, my appearance is a huge part of my daily routine because it impacts not only my personal body image, but how effective I can be at my job. I will go so far as to say that if you feel good about how you look, your body image, if you feel like things are the best that they can be for you, whatever that is, I think that is the first stepping stone to getting over your issues. And I think the door kind of opens up for you after that. It's going to be different for everybody. Maybe it's that you get a haircut. Maybe it's that you lose some weight. Maybe that's like you're like some of us who take it upon themselves to go to the gym. Now, I don't just go to the gym for appearance. I go to the gym for PT, but that's a two-pronged thing, right? I also, for lots of physical reasons, I can't be fat, but for professional reasons, I can't be fat either. So it just is what it is.
And our body's a machine, realistically.
Right.
So are we optimizing how we run? Because when we do that, I agree. When you feel good about the way that you look, a lot of things are going to change for you without you trying.
Without you trying. The whole way you carry yourself, the whole way you enter a room, whether it's a real room or a virtual room, everything about you is at ease, right? You're not sitting there thinking, oh, what does everybody think of me? Oh my God. It's a little less. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times when all of us, especially when it's a new group of people, especially if people don't know we're disabled, like I've worked with people for, 5-6 years before I see them in person and they find out I'm disabled. I would be lying if I said there's not, the little 60 seconds of nerves of, ooh, how are they going to react to this? Because I've never said anything because they only see me from the chest up every single day, right? So my job does not require that I walk around on camera. It requires that I sit right here and dictate to you or train you on exactly what it is you're supposed to do and be as pleasant as possible and, all that good stuff. Well, that impacts image, right? Mm-hmm. Because if I'm not comfortable in my skin, people are not going to want to listen to me. You and I talked about this. You did a training today. I deliver training all day. If you go to something and somebody's like, welcome, hello, we're so glad you're here. Hello.
Welcome to the Cerebral Palsy Sunrise.
Exactly. This is Nathan. He's the loneliness coach. Nathan, would you like to say something?
I think I just got a little bit more lonely.
Exactly. You got a little bit more lonely. Exactly. That's exactly it, right? Like that doesn't work. And there's more to body image than your limbs and your torso. A lot of your body image has to do with your face and your expression and your eye contact. There's so much that has to do with eye contact. If you are someone who is uncomfortable engaging in eye contact, that is something you can practice and improve. And it makes a huge difference in how people receive you and in your body image, honestly. And it's just your ability to appropriately, under social constructs, put your eyes in the right place,
And so here's a perfect example of also thinking about how to find acceptance within yourself. Like, I love the idea of the eye contact because I know that that's true. I've practiced that. I teach people about that.
Yep.
But I can look at the camera and I can look over here. I can see way over here. And let's be real, that's a real CP thing that people deal with.
Yeah.
So what can you do? Like, what are your options? You can say, hey, yeah, I'm looking at you, but this is what's going on. Like,
yeah, be honest about it, right? Like, explain to people how your body works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to tell people your idiosyncrasies. I don't call them shortcomings because they just are what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are idiosyncrasies. So you have to be able to say, like, I have a lot of CP people do. I have a pretty big startle reflex. Please.
I don't go to movies for that reason.
Please do not come up behind me and, yeah, like, I have to warm, like, my startle reflex is CP startle reflex.
That's what we could have a competition about there.
So please don't, because in normal, like, social interactions, right? People think it's cute or clever or funny to come up behind you or tap you on the shoulder or put their hand over your eyes. That's not good to do to most CP people. It's certainly not good to do to me. My startle reflex is on point. Shit will go everywhere. So not good. Yeah. Honestly, like, if I had a preference, people in my orbit, when they're entering and leaving a room or any of that, would do what the deaf community does and flip the lights on and off, because that is actually a lot better for me than people startling me all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it happens. So, yeah, so Jody says both that's her boys as well. Yeah, so I think a lot of us have a massive startle reflex. It's part of the CP thing. Not much we can do about that. But the able-bodied world is unaware, right? So they think they're being cute or social or clever, and really they're giving you a mini heart attack. So
and sometimes your own family will do it to you.
Yes, they will.
You get to learn to love them through it anyway.
That's right. You love them through it anyway. And, you also know that everybody is going to forget that 4th of July is not your favorite holiday. Like, it just is what it is, right?
Yeah. So that's an interesting, like, I didn't even think about talking about that, but yeah, that can impact how we view our body as well.
Yeah, like the things we can't control. If I'm really tired, my hands will tremor. I've been in social settings where people have assumed I had Parkinson's because my hands were tremoring. Now, it requires that I be tired, right? It doesn't happen every day. But when I'm on site somewhere and I've been at the airport all day and it's 9:00 at night, I'm trying to cut my food at a restaurant, odds are it's going to rear its head, right? So that's a body image thing. I think a lot of people wrongly assume that body image is like standing around in your bathing suit. That's like one small part of it, right? Yeah. Body image is when you're fully clothed, just trying to live life every day, going through the motions, going through the line at a restaurant, going to the grocery store, trying to take something off a shelf. Body image is every day. It's not, standing in front of a mirror in your swimsuit. Maybe that's one little piece of it, but it's not the majority of it. I don't think so. I mean, what do you think as a dude? I mean, I know it's a little different, girl versus guy, but
so I'm sitting here thinking about how my image of myself has changed over time. And like, there was a point in time when all I wanted to do was wear suits every single day of my life.
Yep.
And now I could care less. I can be speaking in front of hundreds of people and I will be wearing this exact thing.
Right.
And be okay with that. Now, my mom freaking hates that.
She wants you back in that suit, right, Nathan?
Yeah. And I just think I want to say that because your image is allowed to change. Your image of yourself is allowed to change, and what you thought, what you were comfortable with at one point, you may no longer be comfortable with. And trust me, I still like to look good in a suit, but I also realize that me being in a suit or not doesn't impact what I bring to the people that I'm talking to.
Right. I will say this though. If it's a first time or if it's a super tough crowd, you might bring out the suit. You know? Because that is it's a leveler, right?
It's an assumption that people attach assumptions to the way that we look.
They do. And so, it is what it is. I personally believe my journey with body image is even if I'm just home by myself for the day, I'm not working, I'm not on camera. The reality is, now granted, I might not have on lipstick and mascara, but the reality is I'm gonna be not a whole hell of a lot different than you see me now, because I want to look good for me, whether anybody's gonna see me or not. Because, and honestly, I always used to make the joke of the worse I feel, the bigger my hair will get, right? Because like if I'm having like a really shit day and I feel horrible, and I'm talking CP pain, not emotional or whatever, I'm talking just straight CP pain. If I'm having really crappy CP pain, I will spend extra time on my appearance, because if I'm feeling really bad, looking as good as I possibly can helps me personally get over that. So one of the things is I'll spend extra time on my hair, which usually means it gets larger and larger. Hot rollers come out. Like, it's you can kind of determine how I'm feeling by how big my hair is. So obviously not in a whole heck of a lot of pain today because my hair is pretty flat, but on a day when you see my hair taking up half the camera, you'll know, Jamie spent time on her hair today because she wasn't feeling so good. That's just the truth.
Next Halloween, I think you can make that part of your costume.
Should have like a
pain management.
Yeah, exactly. Pain management is teasing your hair. No, but it's the truth though. Everybody has their survival tactics. My survival tactic is the worse I feel, the more time I spend on trying to make sure I feel as good as I possibly can about how I look, because it evens the playing field, right? And the reality is, people that don't have CP don't know how we're feeling. And if you have to go to work, nobody cares how you're feeling. They just want you to do your job. So you've got to figure out whatever it is you have to do to, go through it. And I get some haters on here. You and I have talked about the haters, because one of my phrases, and this is all an adult audience, so I'm going to say it, is nobody gives a shit. And that's based on, yes, you have CP, but depending on what it is you have to do, whether it's tasks you have to do for your kids, your spouse, your partner, your family, your job, you still have to get those things done, whether you have CP or not. That's just how it is. So, got to do what you got to do.
You don't get a special pass. Like, nobody in here gets a special pass, and I'm not talking about parking.
No, exactly right. Like, we don't get a special pass. And the more in the able-bodied world you attempt to live, the fewer passes you get, right? So when you're making your life choices of, are you going to work? Are you going to own a home? Are you going to drive a car? Every time you make one of those choices and cross that line, that's differentiating even more that you're going to have to suck it up. Because the more, even though they're wonderful things, the more responsibility and opportunity you take on, the less time you're going to have for having any sort of pity party whatsoever. You're just going to have to move on through it.
And we're going to dive more into that next week, right? We're talking responsibility. So buckle up for that one, you guys.
Yeah. For those of you who've kind of been teetering, easing in and out of the body image series, the big one, the one that Nathan is most excited about, is next week, and that is the personal responsibility of body image, which is a massive topic for the disabled community. And yeah, that one's going to be a firestorm. So,
and I think what you just touched on, though, like it plays into this week's topic of the idea that if you are somebody who is wanting to be more included and inclusive in the world at large and be with people who don't have disabilities, like the way you view your body plays a massive role in how those individuals are going to treat you.
Yeah.
Like, how you show up and how you teach people to treat you is super important, and how you view yourself and the behaviors that you have are going to play a huge role in that.
Huge. And I would say body image wise, one of the biggest pieces of, I hate to say advice because it's not, I'm no expert, but as a 40-year-old person who is no longer struggling with body image, I would say my recommendation for the very first thing you can do to help you, both for yourself and for other people, are two things. One is posture, and two is eye contact. If you can work on your posture so that you're, sitting as upright as you can, and your eye contact so that you're engaging, those two things will get you way farther than any body mechanics ever. So if you can spend time working and rehabbing yourself so that you can maintain a good posture while you're sitting, and also possibly work on your eye contact, I personally think those are two things body image wise that no matter what your level of CP, if you can work on those, you will master a lot.
And you know what eye contact does? It sets you apart regardless of disability or not, because how many people that we see when we were out in public on a more regular basis, we're doing this, right? We've got our phone, we're looking at our phone, we're looking down, and so you set yourself apart when you take the initiative to look people in the eye, even if you don't say anything to them. I have the funniest story that I went through emotional intelligence training, and it was in Philadelphia. I live in South Carolina, for people who don't know, and it was a year-long process. So I would go to Philadelphia and then come back home and then do stuff that we were taught over the weekend. And one of the exercises was an eye contact exercise. We spent the whole week looking people in the eye. And I went to go get gas one day when I was going to work, and there was a lady on the other side of the pump, and she was getting stuff out of her passenger side to throw it away. But I just looked over at her and I smiled, and I kind of kept glancing over and kept smiling at her. And at first, you could tell from her reaction, she was trying to figure it out. She was like,
right,
what is this guy doing? Okay, why is he smiling at me? Do I know him?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But so the interaction was done. She threw it whatever she needed, but before she left, she came all the way around the other side of the tank just to look at me and to smile again.
There you go.
So smiling and eye contact make a huge difference because people aren't doing it. And people, not just people with CP, people in general
are not doing it. And I would go so far to say, Nathan, that you and I both open a lot of doors with this, right? It's just the reality. And it's very genuine. It's not like we're cheesing it up, right? But we open a lot of doors with our smiles, and that's because it puts people at ease, it lowers blood pressure, it helps you maintain the eye contact. If you smile back at them, you basically start the conversation by smiling first, right? And we all know we get stared at, right? That's the reality. So what's the first thing you do when somebody stares at you? Give them direct eye contact and you smile, right? Because they either have to meet your gaze
or they
look away off and quit staring, right?
Yeah.
They have one or two options. They either have to meet your gaze and smile back at you, sometimes turning 10 shades of red, or immediately look away and go do something else, right? Either way, the best thing to do when somebody's staring you down is to look right at them and give them one of these. And then
that's the most beautiful thing about kids too.
Yep.
Because they will do that and they will come ask you a question. And they don't care. Like we've all had the parent that's like, oh, don't go say something to them.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Like nothing to be sorry for.
Right.
And as long as they're getting stared at, right, we should make it something good for people to look at.
Right. Might as well. Like, I 100% agree. If we're going to stare at, might as well give them something to look at. All of this that you see here, when I was about 9 years old, I decided, well, if they're going to stare at me, I'm going to give them something worth staring at, right? So that was my way of combating that constant being, the only fish in the sea that was blue while all the other fish were red. That's just how I handled it. But everybody has to figure out what works for them. But I think we wrongly assume that body image is bigger stuff. Body image is a lot of little stuff that stacks up and scaffolds to be your overall image of yourself, which then very directly, even though it's not as sexy as the topic we have next week, does affect your behavior. We have a very large portion of our CP population that chooses to abstain from relationships. And I don't just mean intimacy relationships. I mean friendships. I mean family relationships. Part of why I invited you on here as the loneliness coach for the body image series is I think body image is a direct correlation to loneliness. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you see body image and loneliness, since that's kind of your forte?
So interesting, because the guy that I have coming on tonight, he actually talked about body image to some degree. He serves totally different population, but what he said was in the work that I've done, what I see on social media when it comes to people in the disability community, one of the things I would recommend stopping is people over-sexualize disability. So you probably get told you're not good enough, and then you're like, well, I'm going to take my shirt off because that seems to be the thing that gets all the attention.
Right.
And so I see that a lot. And what it says to me in the things that I've seen is that's just somebody that's a way to gain what they're seeking, right? Because we all have needs that we're trying to have met, and they found the way to do that through that, but it's really hiding a bigger issue of acceptance with yourself. Like I would say, if you are sitting there and you're feeling lonely, body image is a huge thing because of all the stuff that we talked about the previous weeks combined with this week, like your health,
Right.
Like if you go work out, it's going to change the way you look. It's going to change the way you feel.
Yep.
And loneliness is all about a feeling disconnected from yourself and those around you. And if you go work out, if you work on what it means to look good for you, then the concept of feeling connected to you is going to shift.
Yeah. So far, if you're just now tuning in, we have discussed the perceptual aspects of body image. We've discussed the affective aspects of body image, the cognitive aspects of body image, and tonight is the behavioral. Next week is the one that Nathan's really ready to sink his teeth into. I'm going to let him take the stage for this one. That is the personal responsibility of body image. And we are going to end this series in November with managing the challenges of disability and body image, which is kind of like the culminating activity for what this all means as a disabled person. Nathan, dealing with the aspects of loneliness as it has to do with relationships, I think a lot of people wrongly assume that when we discuss body image, we are discussing intimacy and romantic relationships.
Yeah.
That is far from the case. That is the least likely, or I don't want to say the least important, but it's like at the bottom of the totem pole of relationships, because if you don't think that your body image impacts your relationships with your family members, your caregivers, your coworkers, your friends, you are sadly mistaken. And if you don't have good body image with those people, you will never rise to the level of an intimate relationship, because that is like I have mastered at least level 7, headed to level 8, can see 9 in the mirror, and 10 is the goal, right? Because an intimate relationship really means you have gotten to at least a 6 with your body image, right?
And I think everything, if there is one piece of advice that I give most people that I work with, it's you have to start defining everything for you. Like I have certain things that I have people define for themselves. Like if you're walking around with your dictionary, it's got your name on it. It's not Webster's dictionary anymore. It's your dictionary. I would say, first, what does relationship mean to you?
Right.
Like, how do you define that? Because even when you said the word intimate, like that has many levels to me. Like intimacy does not mean a sexual relationship, but I think most people tie that to that word.
Right.
You
It
can
could be a companionship. It could be a close friendship. It could even be a sibling relationship.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people in realms of loneliness get very confused, because all the power gets tied to relationship as far as dating, as far as marriage. And that is one very small, tiny aspect.
Very small. And it's like the top of the scaffold, right? Like it is what you work your way up to. And some people never get to it, and that's okay. It's a choice, right?
Yeah.
But in order to combat the loneliness, you do have to get to at least level 1 or level 2 of the scaffold, which is your friendships and your relationships with family. You have to broach those. And if somebody says, well, I'm lonely, I don't have those people in my life, then the first thing you need to do is work on the relationship with yourself. Would you agree that even if you are lonely, the relationship with yourself is where you start?
Yeah, 100%. You have to start with you. I know you have you had a specific time. I want to pull something up real quick, and I want to ask you guys, whenever you watch this, I want you to answer this for you, and nobody else. So let me pull this up real quick.
I see in a lot of the other, while you're looking for that, Nathan, I see in a lot of the other groups for adults with CP, lots of posts regarding, I'm on here looking for friends, I feel lonely, I have a hard time with friendships, I have a hard time with dating, I don't know any people. So I think it's a common struggle, right? Because there's no denying that disability is isolating. COVID is isolating on top of that. So it certainly makes sense that we're seeing more posts regarding loneliness and isolation at this particular pass, right?
And like here's where I kind of like start to stand a little bit of ground too. Like, okay, if that's what you're looking for, what skills do you need to start to make that happen? By just saying that, it doesn't make it happen.
Right.
And just by accepting any relationship period, that's not going to be a healthy, happy life, in my opinion, because you are giving your power away when you say, I need friends, I'm going to accept anybody to be my friend.
Right. And I have gotten a lot of pushback and feedback, both positive and negative, in regards to some of the things I said in the dating series surrounding, in my opinion, friendship being a form of dating, where when you first meet people, you are literally dating them to see if they're going to be a certain level of friend. And that is no different than dating for an intimate relationship, because we are met and introduced to a lot of people who have the potential to be friends. But after 2 or 3 interactions, you start to decide, is this the type of person you want to include in your inner circle? And to me, that is a form of dating. Not all dating is boyfriend, girlfriend, 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 boyfriend, boyfriend. Sometimes dating is friendship. And picking the right kind of friends is a big deal.
And that, I think that gets a bad rap too. Like the idea that the friend zone, right? Like, I've come to the realization for myself that whoever I end up in a relationship with, I better have been friends with them first. And that matters more to me than anything. Now, here's the thing. Like, if you are experiencing that right now, you have to make sure that if you feel like it's the right person for you after you reach that threshold and you're like, I do want to transition, you have to have the courage to say, hey, I want
to transition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got to put on your big girl or big boy panties and hit that next scaffold, which is where sometimes people either stop, or you have to know that even if you're going to be rejected, it's okay. That's part of the process, and able-bodied people are rejected too. Like,
and they don't like it either.
They don't like it either. Like, it's not unique to us. We're not special, right?
Yeah.
So, but I will say that I think there is an extra weight that is lifted if you have a really good friendship as a disabled person. If you have a really good friendship as the base, where that person truly knows you, the likelihood that they will be able to better appreciate and accept your exceptionalities are higher. So I think as a disabled person, if you really want success, that's where you have to really master that level in order to get to the higher tiers, and like you said, you can take your shirt off and try and get there faster, but it's not going to be a long-term relationship. It's just
and do they really like you for you, or do they just like the way that you look?
Right. Or the relationship that you provide in whatever form that may be. Whether it's
I will say this: there are people out there that are looking just to be with people with disabilities, and that's a real thing.
Yep. And Whitney even had an episode of Spastic Chatter concerning, the elements of dating and also online dating and explaining what fetishes are and other things, because people don't necessarily know, and then they're struck with one of these people and they're like, what the hell is that? So it's a very adult conversation. If you are in the world of dating and that's, something that you need more information about, definitely go back to the earlier episodes of Spastic Chatter, where Whitney discusses dating and things that can happen. But yeah, it's a reality, right? There's also a reality that you could be more likely to be catfished or to be a victim of cyber crime based on the fact that people prey on your possible loneliness. So that's also something you need to keep in mind.
All right, so I found this. So I just want to ask you guys a couple of questions, and you get to reflect on this for yourself. So
okay, listen up, guys. I'm the guinea pig, and you guys need to ask these questions for yourself.
In terms of, so I call this my relationship with me.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask all of them. I'm just going to ask a couple of things. So think you've got a scale in front of you. It's 1 to 10. And on a scale 1 to 10, 1 not so much, 10 being great.
Master level, yep.
Yeah. I am happy with my relationship. When you hear that, with yourself, you're happy with your relationship with yourself. Where do you fall 1 to 10?
Ooh. Oh, well, it's Friday and I'm kind of tired. So, and I just started.
The big hair is coming out, people.
The hair is coming up. It's Friday. I'm kind of tired and I started a new job this week. So I'm going to say I'm at a 7, Nathan.
Okay.
I'm at a 7 today. That's where I am today. My relationship with myself. I've had some moments in the woodshed with myself this week. So I'm going to say I'm at a 7. All right. So those of you who are watching and those of you who will see the recording, take a moment and on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being crap, 10 being master level, where do you fall in your relationship with yourself?
And there's whatever the answer is the right answer.
It's the right answer, and you only need to get to the next number, not the end of the number line. So I said I was at a 7. I just need to think about what it is I need to do for next week to get myself to an 8.
All right. So the next question is, when thinking about where you are with the 7 right now, what's one thing that you need to forgive yourself for this week?
I need to forgive myself this week for being nervous.
Oh.
Because I really had no need to be nervous. They made the job specifically for me. I know half the people at the company. It's the same industry I've been in for over 15 years, right? But I was nervous Monday through Thursday. By today, I'd kind of given it up a little bit, right? And even brushing my teeth in the mirror, I'm thinking, why am I nervous? I know these people. They know me. I know this job. They've even given me a role that's like an expert level role. Like, I'm not the one that should be nervous, but I was still nervous, right?
Yeah, I think anytime, as we were talking before we got on, anytime we get in new positions, no matter our skill level, it can be a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it can. And I will be honest, part of my nerves has to do with what we're doing right here, right now. A year ago, when I didn't have CP Sunrise, people couldn't Google my ass and pull up 10,000 episodes of me talking about cerebral palsy and disability. I would be less nervous. right? But now somebody says, oh, Jaime ate. Even if they go to my LinkedIn, which
She's
now
a
granted,
all the girl.
I do that by choice, but even if they go to my LinkedIn, boom, they're going to see like everything. And that builds an impression on people, good, bad, or whatever. And so honestly, my participation or more active participation in the disabled community is what has caused my nerves. So
yeah, and that can be, especially in the frame of reference that both of us share kind of similar views.
yeah,
The thing to know is we're both putting ourselves out here. Every time we're putting our beliefs and our ideas, and whether you agree or not, that's up for you to do that. But
I
it's
can't.
easy to get
Most of my coworkers, I cannot Google them and find hours worth of video on what's going on in their personal lives, how they feel about their body image, what their experience was like in school. Like the fact that I was going to a new room of people who could have Googled me the day before and watched. Now, granted, I'm not that interesting, so I doubt they watched 6 hours. But the reality is, they could have watched a lot of sound bites on me about a lot of things: body image, dating, inclusion, sexual preference, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
They know I'm straight. They know I'm dating. They know I'm divorced. They know how I feel about my body. I mean, so I'm like, whereas before I started Cerebral Palsy Sunrise, unless they knew me personally as a friend, they wouldn't have known that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the price of participation in the cosmos that is disability. And I'm very glad to do it. And that's why I started Cerebral Palsy Sunrise as a passion project last year. But it's very different, and I certainly could not have handled it until this stage of my life as a 40-year-old chick. I could not have handled this pressure at 25. I could not.
Yeah, I get that. It's funny. My mom wrote me these letters for my birthday every year. She said they're until 18, but I have about 5 of them.
Yeah.
And so when I was 4 years old, I was the March of Dimes ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
And so the very first couple of speeches that I gave, I spoke in front of 2,000 people.
Yep.
And I was on TV, and people think every time I talk about my big vision of stuff, they're like, what are you talking? That's crazy.
Right.
I want to be like Ed Milet. If you don't know who he is, Google him and you'll see the vision that I have for myself. But it was good to be able to look back and be like, there's a reason why I believe the things that I do, and it's based on life experience, even though all I did was create 2 sentences and say it in front of 2,000 people. That's the element that I know I want to be in. But you have to come to terms of what you're willing to say and not say in the public eye. I agree with that 100%. So for the watcher, what's the thing that you get to forgive yourself for this week? Yep. What is that thing for you?
What is your thing you forgive yourself? And do you have a third one for tonight, Nathan?
Yeah, so this is the last one.
Okay.
And I think that this is the one that's gonna make the biggest change for you if you take it serious and you put it into action. So now Jamie, you're at a 7.
Right.
Viewer, you are where you are, whatever that number is, and you know that you want to improve it at least once. So, what are 5 ways that you can start to improve your relationship with you?
With myself?
Yep.
Well, you know this, you and I have discussed this. I put a lot of emphasis on breathing this week. I did a shit job of it because I was trying to absorb information. I was trying to keep eye contact all the time because I was constantly on camera, and I was trying to make sure that my posture was good, which as you get more tired, as you know, with CP is hard to do. So I did a crappy job with my breathing. So I think if I breathe better, I'll be less nervous. So that would probably be number one. Number two and number three would probably be like writing out some small goals for the week so I can feel like I know where I'm headed or had some success and some things I've checked off. Number four would probably be not forgetting to spend time exercising, because this week was like an overwhelming week with it being the first week. And I just kind of I did some, but I did like a third of what I would normally do. Yeah. Right. Which we all know it's never as good. Right. So I definitely.
When that's a regular part of your routine, you know when you don't do it too.
You do, you know. And I'm like, and I literally did a third because, you know, I normally do things for an hour to 2 hours, 6 days a week. And I did, you know, maybe 30 minutes 3 times this week. So, you know, suck it up and get back on the horse with that and just say, okay, week 1 is over. Yeah, gave yourself grace for week 1 and, you know, go back. And then probably 5, I don't know, would have to think about it, but it would probably be not stress eating. I ate a shit ton of chocolate this week because when I am really stressed, for whatever reason, chocolate helps.
Yeah.
And so now granted, that's not the best thing for you. It's not the worst thing for you. But the reality is I ate a lot of chocolate this week, Nathan. So I probably need to cut back on my chocolate consumption next week.
You know what it was? It was, so the chocolate was replacing the endorphins that you would normally release from exercising. That's what happened.
You're probably 100% right, because normally if I was doing the regular amount of exercise that I routinely do every day, I would not have needed that amount of chocolate, but I needed a lot of chocolate this week. Yeah. And luckily it was Halloween last week, so I was, you know, chocolate was cheap and I was in good stead. But yeah, a lot more chocolate than a normal week. So
again, what are the 5 things for you as the viewer that you want to do to improve your relationship with you? Because all the stuff that we're talking about, you can hear our stories, you can hear what we do, but it all boils down to what you do for you. And we're going to get into that more next week. So
we are. And Nathan, I think we hit a home run with part 4 of the behavioral as far as it relates to body image. I'm super excited to see you same bat time, same bat channel next Friday night for your favorite portion of the 6-part series. It's going to be all Mr. Todd, y'all. I'm going to sit back and let him do his thing. So make sure that you either tune in with us next Friday night at 5:30 Eastern or watch the recording when you're available. And for those of you who won copies of the book, congratulations. If you have questions for Nathan, be sure to message him. And we'll see you again real soon right here on Cerebral Palsy Sunrise. Bye, y'all.
See ya.